Speaking of Matt Hardy, he was the guest on this week's Talk is Jericho. Not ideal timing, dropping this now and then having a face-to-face between them on TV this week, a few days later. But I guess kayfabe died long ago. This was a great interview. Matt, just to rehash just some of the key points, Matt made it clear he left WWE because he could not get any assurance from Vince McMahon that he would be taken care of creatively, or he would have his ideas listened to creatively. He talked about his idea for the storyline with Bray Wyatt. If you remember, they were tag team partners for a while. How Bray would be freed from Sister Abigail and he would become this lovable type of character, and they would shoot a whole bunch of entertaining vignettes to show a different side of his personality. WWE instead wanted to put their stamp on it and basically ruin the whole thing. They wanted them to wrestle tag team matches every week to fill time on those 3-hour Raw shows. Vince McMahon just didn't get the broken Matt stuff. And not everybody was a fan of it. I'm not saying Vince McMahon is the only person who didn't like Broken Matt. I loved it. But I also heard from a lot of you guys, some of you just absolutely hated it. You don't like that kind of really over-the-top, fake, goofy type of stuff. And a lot of people just did not like the Broken Matt character. I think more liked it than not. But it doesn't sound like Vince McMahon even understood it. He didn't get it. But when you look at some of the stupid, goofy bullshit that Vince McMahon has put on his own TV show, really? You're gonna look at the Broken Matt stuff and say, I don't get it. I don't understand it. When you consider some of the shit that this guy has put on his own TV show, some of the dumb shit that he's done. He confirmed that Triple H did reach out to him after his contract expired, which backs up the reports of them trying to maybe make a deal for him to work with NXT. One of the most revealing comments in the entire interview was Matt admitting that had Triple H been the sole one in power in the company, if he had taken over from Vince McMahon and Triple H was the one running WWE, it's very likely he would have stayed with the company. Now, if Matt Hardy is saying this, and Matt Hardy spent a lot of years working for WWE, he's a veteran of the company, then you know he's not the only one who must feel this way. How many other people would have stayed when their contract came up? How many more people are going to leave who perhaps otherwise would have stayed if there was some new blood in power? I say new blood, I mean Triple H has been there forever, but he's not been in charge. We still don't know what a Triple H-led WWE would look like. Maybe it would be worse. I don't think it would be worse. Maybe it would be. Maybe he doesn't run WWE the same way that he's run NXT. Maybe he lets the power go to his head and he becomes as bad as Vince. with some of these decisions. Who knows? Until he's actually in that position, if he ever gets there, we just don't know. But that was a very revealing comment. Maybe probably the biggest reveal, I think, in the entire interview, hearing him say that. He credited TV shows like True Blood with the genesis of the Broken Matt character, the idea of souls living in different vessels across multiple time periods. One of the most impressive things about this interview, as I'm listening to him speak, especially in the first half hour, was you listen to Matt explain to Jericho the backstory of the broken character, the broken universe, some of the other ideas, crazy ideas that he had over the years, how he breaks things down, how he explains, well, this character, this means this and that. And Jericho's laughing. I mean, he's sitting there laughing, not because he thinks it's stupid, but because he can't believe the level of detail, the level of thought, the degree of thought that was put into these ideas. When you listen to him speak, you really do realize how freaking creative this guy really is. I've always heard that. That Matt is really the brains of the Hardy Boys, and, he could book a promotion all by himself, and he's got all these great ideas, and Jeff is more of the daredevil who just goes out and does the crazy moves. And I'm not saying Jeff isn't a creative guy either. Jeff is kind of a bizarre guy. But Jeff also is creative in his own way. The artwork, the music that he does. But when you listen to Matt really break these ideas down, you realize how creative a person he really is. And the thought that he would be pitching constant ideas to the company and they would all just fall on deaf ears. Not one of them would break through. What does that say about the company itself and their willingness to accept ideas? Forget outside ideas. They don't accept pitches from fans and things like that, but even just the talent themselves. I understand they employ this army of writers, and if you're a writer in WWE, maybe you look at that and go, wait a minute. Yeah, if we start accepting ideas from the wrestlers, then what do you need writers for? Maybe they feel threatened. Maybe they feel their job is in jeopardy. I could see the writers not necessarily being too keen on the wrestlers, submitting their own ideas. But you would think, these are the people who were portraying the characters. I'm sure a lot of wrestlers have a lot of really terrible ideas that deserve to be rejected. I'm sure of it. You can make a list probably of a lot of great ideas that have been submitted by wrestlers, and then make a list of all the awful ones. The awful ones may well outrank the good ones, but the idea that a lot of the good ones just fall on deaf ears. I could see where people would feel stifled working for a company like that if you care too much about what you do and it's not just about drawing a paycheck. I mean, look at the Revival. The Revival, they're as good as gone. You don't think the Revival could have taken a great deal that WWE was offering them and just stayed for the money? Now with everything going on, they may have put themselves in a really awful position. Apparently they're not getting paid. They've already hit their downside guarantee, supposedly, and WWE's not even paying them, and they can't leave at the same time. I think Wilder maybe has more time on his deal because of injuries than Scott Dawson does. I think Dawson's deal supposedly is up in April. Wilder may not be free until June. They're not being paid, and now there's no wrestling at all. AEW is on a budget. All of a sudden, all this talent that AEW was signing or looking to sign, in a few months, they may not be able to bring anybody new in. They may have to scale back. If they're working on a fixed budget, the longer this whole situation goes on for, it's amazing to think how quickly things can change. I was just talking about the Revival not even a month ago, and look at the position that these guys are in. It's great. They're biding their time. They're almost assuredly going to end up in AEW. And I'm sure they'll get a nice deal to go there too. They're not going to be, living paycheck to paycheck. But they've been waiting a very long time for their deals to run out. They've been biding their time. They've rejected every contract offer supposedly that's been presented to them. And then this happens. And now who knows what's going to be. The wrestling business is not immune to what is going to be happening in other industries. Laying off workers. Contracting, scaling back, downsizing. If they work on a budget and they have to stay within that budget, and now they're going to get slammed just like WWE and just like everybody else. And believe me, WWE, they've made a lot more money than AEW has. All of a sudden, I don't know that people like the Revival are necessarily going to have a place to go when all of this is over. For their sake, I hope they do. But they may be rethinking their decision real soon, the longer this drags out for. Vanguard One made an appearance on Dynamite Wednesday night, but it would not have happened had the show taken place in Rochester. Building management did not want a drone flying above the crowd for safety reasons, and so what they would have had to do is either just not use the drone, or they would have shot something outside the building instead of having it land in the ring. Being inside an empty arena allowed them to use Vanguard One. It allowed them to use the drone, and something went wrong. Matt said that the drone was supposed to fly, I don't know if it was going to land first and then get back in the air, but it was supposed to fly to him. And so the final shot of Dynamite was going to be Vanguard One flying to Broken Matt, and then you see the two of them, and that's the closing shot. For whatever reason, the drone landed in the ring, and I guess maybe Vanguard One fell asleep. Maybe he was drinking, maybe he had a little too much, and he just kind of planted himself in the ring, and he didn't move. And so they had to improvise, and instead Matt was just pointing to the inner circle and taunting them and doing the delete gesture. So I thought that was kind of amusing. Vanguard One turned heel on Matt Hardy. I think one of the benefits of having Matt on their team now, if they have to, They could probably tape shows, entire shows, or at least tape certain segments, tape some material for upcoming Dynamite episodes from the Hardy compound, if they had to. And Matt, his home there in North Carolina, I don't know how hard hit the state has been in terms of what's been happening, but he lives in the middle of nowhere. So, I mean, I guess he runs the risk when he's traveling around, but his family is pretty well safe. I mean, they're planted right there in the middle of absolutely nowhere in Cameron, North Carolina. I don't know if I would want to invite AEW to come film at my place. My place would be, if I were in that Hardy compound, that's like a safe zone. My family is safe. I don't want people from the outside coming into my home. But I suppose if they wanted to, then they could probably shoot some stuff there.